Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dads, listening to Tomcats, talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. Get some weed and now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. All right, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Cinema Surprise, presented by the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue with Joseph's fourth pick. It is Arrival, released on November 11th, 2016, based on a book by Ted Chiang and a screenplay by Eric Heiserer, and directed by Denis Villeneuve. I am Colton Robertson. I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, Helm?
What up,
Homie,
what up?
Sorry, I totally tripped over that word for some fucking reason.
Good, but it's still always a pleasure to be here. Very, very glad to be talking Arrival. Finally,
Yeah.
more sci-fi.
You'd think in my own language I wouldn't have tripped over the words, you know.
Hey, maybe they're
trying
speaking to us. Maybe this is
right now.
future
We're
self.
actually recording the episode. Like, there's another version of ourselves that is doing it backwards, like in the exact reverse as we are, and we're meeting in the middle right
Exactly.
now. We're
And
just
every sentence that we say, we're grabbing from either the past or the future from some other conversation, and it's
Exactly.
just being spoken right now. So yeah, I mean, it's just I love movies that can get you to mind bend like that. Oh,
dude,
yes,
I loved it. I loved it. So this was your choice. Why did Arrival click with you? Why did you want to discuss that today?
Well, after seeing Dune, and just Villeneuve was floating around, I'm like, man, I really need to watch some more of his stuff. And then I've always heard of Arrival, and people have even told me specifically, hey, you would really like this movie. It's right up your alley. And I don't know why, I've just never gotten around to seeing it. And then I watched it for the first time not too long ago. I think it was about probably a month or maybe a month and a half ago that I watched it for the first time. And I was just kind of hooked. I'm like, oh yeah, I do. I see why people would recommend this movie for me. And I love sci-fi. I love this concept, and the story is actually good. And I feel like heartfelt enough too. Like it's kind of, I feel like that's kind of the most difficult thing to do with sci-fi is make it human. Yeah, make it heartfelt and have emotion and all that. And I feel like this gets me there.
No, it got me. Yeah, it's interesting about sci-fi because I do think sci-fi has this tendency to be able to strike at the heart of humanity in a way that a lot of genres have the capability to, but there's this heightened version of this where it shows where we can go and what is possible but is unimaginable almost. Like it's so I loved the prospect that this movie sets up for us, you know, and sci-fi is so broad, you know, like this is quote unquote stereotypical sci-fi. We're dealing with aliens and coming to Earth and talking to them, and you know, but it obviously flips it on its head and does its own thing that is completely original, you know, like, and then like comparing it to like Mad Max Fury Road and Planet of the Apes. These are also sci-fi films. So like it's a huge genre, you know, it's a huge genre. So like it is funny, like this is what you would think of as a science fiction film. And I appreciate that it manages to take a launching off point that would be, I mean, and has been basic to so many science fiction films and stories ever. The Day the Earth Stood Still and War of the Worlds, and just like aliens have arrived. What are we going to do? And then they take it in a direction that I've literally never even considered before. And I appreciated Denis Villeneuve, obviously, we heard in the interview recently, and this gets brought up pretty frequently on the podcast because we've become pretty ingrained with visual storytelling. But for a gentleman who doesn't love dialogue, and likes doing visual storytelling. This is and obviously he didn't write this one, so it's not like it's, he wrote the Dune movies, so it is a little different there.
I see why he loves it. I see he loves it though.
Yeah.
It's like language is literally visual in this I guess for their species or
right.
I don't know, what do you, is it an alien race, an alien species, an alien, I don't, whatever.
Yeah, both are applicable, I think. No, and just the prospect he posed, like, this also has some of the most beautiful dialogue that's ever been spoken in a Denis Villeneuve film. I liked this infinitely more than I liked Sicario, that we covered over on the Penny Bloom podcast. For me, and I know this is crazy because I love Dune 2, this was like quite easily my favorite Denis Villeneuve film. There was a certain emotionality to it that Dune 2 got me to tears a couple times, but it was more because of the talent on display. I would not hesitate to tell you Dune 2 is a better movie. That's not something I have any qualms just going ahead and conceding, but man, this resonates with me in a way that I don't get out of Dune 2.
That's true. Sitting in a theater and being rumbled with all that sound and having the music flow through you and you're, and a theater does kind of change a lot of things, but then I'm sitting at home, just sitting down, peace and quiet. The sound's nice. I got a nice picture and everything, but like I'm getting to tears there. It's not because of the massive
the experience,
and everything going on at once, and I mean, it is an interesting question of like which movie I like more. I almost kind of put them as 1A and 1B for me, and it is because of Dune. It is just kind of that epic craft of it, and a really cool group of young talent, and just epics. I don't know, an epic story as well.
No, it is. It's fucking awesome. Like, and that's why I'm like, I don't want to undersell Dune by any stretch of the imagination. I'm only saying that to show just how much this movie resonated with me, because I fucking love Dune 2. And I love Dune also, by the way. I know I'm focusing on Dune 2, but Dune is also fucking rad. So like I love both of those movies. But I was impressed with the storytelling here. Regardless of whether it was dialogue or visual storytelling, I appreciated the moral of the story ultimately, like dealing with aliens who are trying to help humanity because in 3,000 years they need humanity's help and they need them to be united on every front for that to happen. I love the literal shot of every country's name, every location, and it just saying disconnected. Like, and it's like, oh, I wonder what he's trying to say here. I appreciated that. And that's like, sometimes you need on the nose visual storytelling like that to really wallop you. And it did, man. Like, it was, and like, so that's, you have this big world impacting story. And then at the heart of it is a really, really moving depiction of dealing with grief and dealing with life, and I was floored by it. It was fucking beautiful.
Just dealing with first contact of aliens and anything is always kind of crazy, but then to take it to the level of, we can't even really speak to them. We're kind of, if aliens were to come down, we kind of hope that they are smart enough to figure out our language and speak to us, because like we would have to do this, like it would kind of, who knows if they would be as friendly as these aliens are, I mean, they need our help in 3,500 years, so that's why they're being friendly. But if there are aliens out there and, they know of us, they haven't killed us yet, so I'm assuming they'll be friendly, that's my assumption.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a crazy just question to have. And then I don't know how I haven't like thought of it before this movie of like, actually communicating with an alien if they were to come down, and then just we would send, like, I guess that's like one common gripe, like, oh my god, this video I keep coming back to it. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he did a tier list of of sci-fi movies, and his gripes on movies are hilarious. And I used to be this person, but he was like, if we were to do this in real life, we would send cryptographers and CIA agents and people who break codes and all of this stuff, not a linguist. And I'm like, well, I bet both would actually, a linguist actually is very crucial.
Also, those people were there.
Uh-huh.
It's not like they weren't. It's just that this was
the main person who figured it out. Like, they were getting nowhere. That's who they tried first, and they got nowhere. And
so good job, Neil.
Oh,
You're
man.
actually Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's a smart guy, but he's hysterically out of touch with what art is on most fronts. But no, I loved the setup for this movie. I adore the idea that they're literally just trying to communicate with them. You got Bostonian Forrest Whitaker coming through, trying to see if Amy Adams can come on through, help us out. She's like, I can't unless I'm there. He's like, nah, fuck you. He comes back. He's like, okay.
We know what you're trying to do. You're not going to get in there. Fuck.
She's like, I'm not trying to do shit. I have to do this if you so I loved that. But one of my favorite scenes, it ultimately can't be my favorite scene because the back half of this movie is fucking insane. But the first time she breaks down why they're starting as small as they are,
on the
and she
whiteboard?
writes out, yes,
what
is your purpose on Earth? She's like, all right, let's talk about this. So, A, do they even know that that's where we are? Do they even know what Earth is? Are they just here on this planet? They probably don't. They need to know that this is a question. Do they even know that we're asking a question? So what? They need to know the intent. They need to know purpose. They need to know not the group, not them specifically, but as a whole, their whole thing. And it's one of those things that I was watching it with Emily, and Emily fucking loved this movie too, which is always a really good basis for me to know whether it has general appeal. And she dug it. She dug it hard. But we were watching it, and we were just talking about how it's so crazy to grow up with a language like this and then be able to translate it into other languages. If you want to learn Spanish or French or German or any of these, you at least have a basis. They are earthly. We know how to pose questions. We know how to describe that sort of thing. We know they're starting from fucking scratch here, no noise. We grow up and we just learn English.
You just absorb it. We're just a sponge.
Yeah.
We're just
you just get it.
Oh, da 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 da. Like
Dad,
mama.
Dad,
It's just repetition. Yeah, I mean and then whenever they're slowly communicating, one little circle at a time. But then at the end, whenever they give the gift to her and she can fully, understand everything. And then the one shoots off a bunch of ooze, ink, gas. I feel like I don't know what to call it, but shoots off a bunch of it, and then the other starts to just make all the small circles, and just have a bunch of them there. And then it hit me of oh my God, yeah, to think of how these beings communicate normally, it wouldn't be slow like this.
Yeah. They were doing the same thing to her that she was doing to them.
Yes.
And it's I fucking loved it, dude. And I love that in that moment, they do that because they know a bomb is about to go off and they save them by turning the gravity there was dude, I loved it.
It's just and it's crazy their powers and stuff. It's just it's perfect. I love when things aren't fully explained. It's they can just see the future, and she touches the glass and she touched them, and she has the power now. It's it's just aliens. So it's nice that you can kind of just use it as an explanation for things. But a lot of the other stuff is just very rooted in how we would go about it. I feel it is as realistic. It's weird to call this movie realistic because there's just aliens coming down to Earth. But it really does feel how our current Earth and our current governments would handle it. We would set up a military base and we would only let in the people we want to go in there. We wouldn't, if the public tried to come in and storm this, assuming they would just open fire and like kill all the people. You know, it probably wouldn't be fun. But so I don't know. A lot of it is based in reality still, and like we are on Earth. There's just 12 of them popped out. You know, just chilling.
Well, and there was I'm used to watching. I've watched 4 Denis Villeneuve films prior to this. I'd watched Sicario, both Dunes, and Blade Runner 2049, which all have a human heart to them, and Sicario is obviously placed in the real world, but there's a certain element to that that's like I literally have no idea how real that is. But
or American
and
Minds.
it's so dim and it's dark and it's not hopeful and but I love that in this movie there is a really poignant social commentary about the way the general public would receive this information and how the media would manipulate certain people who are there to act against, to turn, to do a coup, to do an insurrection and try to destroy it. And I just thought it was really impressive because obviously we haven't been adults long. You know, the first election I remember, you know, like I remember Barack Obama getting voted into office twice. I do. But I didn't know what the fuck was going on. You know, I remember Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. And that was 2016. This movie came out in 2016. So there is a certain degree of relevancy in that regard where I didn't realize fully that people like that guy in the video that the dude's watching who decides to lead the coup existed.
We need to do something about this.
Yeah.
You know, these aliens, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And I didn't fully realize that was a thing that, like, because I felt like it was something that was radicalized via, you know, the 2016 election and radical conservatives growing more confident in their voice, you know? And it's hard to wrap your mind around and like obviously this is different. This isn't a conservative or liberal thing. I'm not trying to make it so because like this would radicalize anybody. I think there is a good chance that if you are susceptible to any of this, like there's a really good chance that this doesn't work out the way that it does. You know, like actually at all. There's actually no fucking chance it works out the way that it does.
I mean, it's nice that their ships are indestructible because the first thing we would do is try to shoot them down. Like, I mean, that's just it's our first thing we do, and like that just doesn't work. And like, it's crazy to think that like they're like, all right, we're gonna need humanity's help in 3,500 years, so we're coming here now to give you a gift. But, you know, you're welcome. You guys are primate, you know, just ants compared to what we are. You're welcome. We'll speed up your process. But you got to think, like, they're a peaceful species that has been living, and I guess they just know their fate, that they're about to be wiped out or whatever.
Well, and that's what's interesting is they couldn't have been wiped out. You know, like there's
so it does work.
The time loop thing is that like it had to have worked. You know, like it
Or
it had, like, they have to know it's going to work. There has to be a reason it works. There has to be a reason they came here, unless they're taking a fucking shot in the dark.
Maybe that's just that, you know, we just experience time in that way, so we can't even think of how time works for them. Like, how they experience it. It is just the paradox, the things that are paradoxical to us might just be nature.
They are just that.
For them. And I love just the, like, it can't be my scene. You're right. Like the scene of the movie is her everything clicking, you know, and like whenever it does it, I think it starts, they come out, they're arguing about something in the tent. Yeah, and then her memories start to, it's all of her memories starting to come to line up, and then it's the zero sum. That's right, I put it in my...
That's my scene.
Yeah, I mean, that's, there's no other scene in the movie that I think is worth, like, that is the best scene of the movie. There's no like debate. I feel
Yeah,
like
whenever she's in the flashback and her daughter's asking her, what is it when like there's like a win-win, like it's nobody wins, everyone has to meet in the middle, and she's like, a compromise. She's like, no, it's more scientific than that. And she goes, well, if you want science, ask your dad. Me and Emily went like this. We looked at each other. We were like, yeah, we were like, it's Ian, isn't it? This hasn't happened yet. So like, that was just a really fun realization. And then like when he says non-zero sum game, I was like, yep, nail in the coffin. That's him. But yeah, like that whole sequence is just fucking brilliant.
Because it's from right there that she realizes that that's how her brain is working now. So like she has something, and then that's immediately when the ship sends out that little cylinder to take her up. Like it's like they know, it's like they. I guess. And also, it's like spicing up. Things are happening around the world. China's
and she saw it, which is why she went out there to do it. And that's what's.
Oh my god, it's so cool! Like,
and that's why I'm like, there's a certain element to this where. Yes, she is. Yes, they experience time in a different way. But to put it in 3,500 year terms, that is linear. Like it is 3,500 years from now. Whether they are experiencing exactly that at the same time, it's possible.
True.
Like they almost certainly have to be, because Amy Adams is experiencing the loss of her daughter, who she hasn't had yet. But is there a lifespan thing going on? These aliens aren't time travelers. They can just perceive time, as far as we can tell.
True. It doesn't seem that way. They could be. They could be from the future.
They could be. Back, yes, they could be time travelers. I don't get the impression that they are from 3,500 years in the future, and these motherfuckers came back.
That's just how that's how they work. They know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, their lifespan is probably just ridiculously long compared to ours. So that's why I was like, Amy Adams, her character Louise, experiencing things that happen within her life. She doesn't see things that happen after. So like
there maybe, I guess, whenever she's given the gift, she can see everything from her life from that point on. But these creatures, they're probably born like that. So
yes,
from inception or from whatever, from birth, however they're born, they know everything that they'll ever do. I mean, we can view that as like, well, damn, that sucks. That sounds boring. Or I don't know.
No,
it's
there's
a different life. It's just,
and that's why I love. There's obviously the conversation between her and Ian as well earlier on in the movie, where he asks her, have you been dreaming in their language? And she like looks over and sees one in her room, but I can't remember what it was called, whatever syndrome it is.
Spirit, like, I got it here. This Sapir Whorf, Sapir is the first name. And then
Sapir Whorf
hypothesis.
Like, she's obviously experiencing that. Like, she's just exposed herself to it so much. There's this interesting element, too, where because she will gain that ability, she already kind of has that ability. And it's interesting to think about it that way, because there's a nuance given to Amy Adams' performance, knowing this information, knowing that she hasn't lost a daughter. She carries herself at the beginning of the movie like a woman who has lost her daughter. Like she's on the phone with her mom, and her mom's like, "How are you doing?" She's like, "I'm the same." Like she gives the impression of someone who doesn't feel like they have anything left to live for. And then this reignites her, this reinvigorates her. And then
was her past said? Did she say that she, like, has she just been single? Like, we get dropped in. We get dropped in. The first time we see her is the day that they land. And then because she's having memories of her daughter, but that's not
And then whenever he's like, what's going on? She's like, I can't, you'd think I was crazy. I can't explain it. She's already seeing visions of her daughter who isn't born yet, like, who is this kid? And she feels the love for that child. She feels the grief she has from losing that child, and it's persisted, I'm assuming, her whole fucking life, because there was never an event that made it make sense. And all of a sudden, everything clicks here for her, and she asks the question, which is my favorite line of the movie. She asks Ian at the end of the movie, if you could see your whole life start to finish, would you change things? And that's when they're embracing at the end of the movie. She knows for a fact what is going to happen. I pose the question, could she even? Could she even change these things? Like, if she, does she have the option to make a choice and walk away from Ian and never have the daughter? Like, I have to think she does. Like, she has that opportunity, but because she's already had this child and already loved them and already lost them,
I feel like it's kind of like almost a faith thing, in that, like, she's been given this gift, and, like, she knows that she has this daughter, and, like, she knows the grief sucks and it's made her life terrible the whole time, but it's like she knows that she did love that daughter, and she'll never have that love if she never has the daughter in the first place. So it's like,
and I think that's why it's the ending of the movie makes me fucking sob.
Oh,
like, it fucked me up, man.
It's terrible. I mean, it's just because from that moment on, or once you can think in time that way, circular, non-linearly, life is just different. Like, work doesn't make sense, and, like, all these things, like, they don't really make sense. Like, normal day-to-day tasks don't make sense, but it's just how we live and how our
and then it's like, how can it, if you do have the ability to change it, is she constantly trial and erroring things?
Is it like
to
like
try
Timothy?
And
like, she basically
things?
has the power.
Like, is she able to, like? And that's why I'm like, because say, like, I, it's devastating and fascinating and awesome that we know. We usually talk about these movies like what happens next. We know for a fucking fact what happens next.
That's
we
true.
know what happens after this movie, and I love that. She knows this language. She's experiencing life in a whole new way. And Ian can't accept that she knew their daughter would die and put that grief onto him, knowing what would happen. And there's almost a...
What do you do?
No, yeah, like, there's almost a peaceful acceptance of that on her part. Like, she has no other option. Whenever she's like,
she knows that he will be upset about it too. Like, she knows that will happen as well. I wonder if it is more of like that they do know, or it's like you have
it shows itself.
Yeah, eventually. It's not like clear. It's just like whenever she needed to know non-zero, non-zero sum game. That's whenever that future vision came to her. So then she learned it. So maybe it's...
Yeah, when she needed to know that she needed to call the general, she saw the vision of her calling the general.
It's like she initiates that thought of, hey, this is the point I need to make, and then it's like, all right, here's the knowledge you need to make that point, and it just happened to be in the future. But maybe it could have been in the past. I don't know. Maybe that's how it works. It's just like as you need the information, you can just access it from any direction in time. And then that way free will is still sort of in
no,
check.
And that's the thing, is that, like, I do get the impression that she does have free will.
She chooses not to.
She chooses not to do anything with it,
yeah.
though. And that's why I'm like, I don't know that she does. Like, I think she might be doomed to... Not doomed, but like there's like maybe you're right about the faith thing. That's the best idea I can come up with. That she was granted this gift. She's decided not to fuck with the gift. She knows that it's just how life is now. This is what her life is, and that's how it goes.
Because if you knew that aliens needed humanity to save them in 3,500 years, and you were the first one to get this gift, and then start to change things, like you're, I don't know, maybe that's why she's like, I don't want to fuck up humanity, like I don't know the true power
like maybe,
of this.
Exactly,
and
she just knows it's her job to pass this language on so that eventually in 3,500 years, humans exist in the same capacity that these motherfuckers do. Like if it's just passed on and just passed down for generations and generations and generations, they exist in the same, like humanity will eventually speak this language.
Yeah.
And not...
Yeah.
And it will be the universal language, as it is dubbed. Maybe
they are a little time traveling. Maybe this is like maybe they're experiencing time in a loop, and maybe that's the whole point, is that time itself is not linear. Like this is the things that need, it's like a Tenet just thing. What's everything that's happened. It's a loop. Maybe, I don't know. They never explain it, which is nice. It is just left in mystery, and we don't know. Like, we operate under the assumption that we have free will because we really, really would like to have free will. It would really suck if one day aliens come down and they're like, "Hey, actually, we created you, and you've been
your
just
fate
serving
is decided,
a purpose,
and we already know how you end."
Like, if we were told that, we'd be like, "Oh, well, that does suck."
And then that would be a part of our fate, and that whatever you did after that would be a part of the design.
So
and like that's why it.
Yeah,
I think that the free will question. I mean, like they do literally pose it. That's why I do think it's important. I'm not trying to expound on something that doesn't matter to the movie. She literally says, if you knew your future, would you have the power to change it? Like, would you do that? And it is just fascinating, man. I loved the ideas this movie posed, and I loved the execution. One thing that I was a little shocked by, in terms of just this whole... It is my favorite Denis Villeneuve movie. It might be my least favorite looking Denis Villeneuve movie.
Yeah, Sicario looks better than this. Like,
yeah, consistently. Like whenever they are in the ship or whatever the fuck, like that all looks really, really good.
I guess,
but the night sequences are really dimly lit, and they don't look very good. And it's not like a choice where it's like, oh, well, that's what we... It's going for the naturalistic lighting thing that I'm just not a huge fan of. And it's not that it doesn't work. It does work at points. Like there are, like whenever the helicopter pulls up and she's standing in her house on the upper floor and it's coming through the window and you see the lights flashing on her. That shot is really cool. It's very brief. It's very quick, but I love that shot. And there's an interesting desaturated look to it, where even when they're wearing orange and they're coming out of yellow tents, it's still dull somehow. And I'm curious if they are trying to kind of say something about humanity in contrast to...
look at the land that they're on, how lush and beautiful and green and mountainous, and the blue sky, and then just the base camp, tents, boring as fuck. And maybe that, I mean, because when we're in the ship, it does look really cool, and the camera is always set up like very well to give you the long shots, like whenever like the gravity first switches, whenever the first contact. Oh, that might be my shot, is like the camera kind of switches with the gravity, and then you see like them, like the people switch. It was just
my favorite of that sequence was when Ian jumped on. And he stands and he looks down, and there's a dolly zoom that makes the hull longer. as he's looking at it, and then it does it the opposite way, and I was like, oh, that was fucking heat.
Yeah.
I mean, it was gorgeous. And like, so that's why I'm like, I'm but I mean, like, Blade Runner 2049, undoubtedly beautiful movie. Sicario, undoubtedly beautiful movie. The Dunes, undoubtedly beautiful movies. There just happen to be sequences in this that I think are less visually stimulating. Maybe I should put it that way. It's not that they're worse looking. It's just that there's almost more to look at in other movies.
And it's like Villanueva's standard. It's not up to like his standard, but I feel like for an average movie, this still looks. This is
a good like that's why I'm like, it's a good looking movie. It's just as of yet, it's compared to Villanueva's other work, it probably is my least favorite looking Villanueva movie.
This is true.
But my favorite shot, and here's where that other shit comes in. This might have my favorite shot of any Villanueva movie, and that's why it's hard to really compare with anything. Where Louise is looking at the circle and it's like perfectly around her head, and then she turns to the side and she's like perfectly silhouetted. It looks fucking gorgeous. Like that's a beautiful visual that, again, beautiful visual storytelling about how her head it's one with this eventually, and like that's what Villanueva is really good at is telling you things without telling you things, and it's really strong.
You know, taking off the hazmat suits and just having that, and like I saw someone say that like Star Wars is better as a silent film. That if you just had the movie or the music with it. And you take all the dialogue and everything out, that it works as a silent film, and it actually makes the movie better. And I don't know about that, but I think the idea of it, like if you do make this movie silent, or Villanueva's movies silent, I feel like he's just a director in which you could do that for his movies and still get a lot of the satisfaction out of it without the dialogue, because, I mean, this is literally visual, you know, in the alien language. Obviously, we wouldn't understand it, and there's no way to do that without subtitles or some sorts of dialogue and stuff like that. But I don't know. I thought I'm always kind of watching movies now with the idea of like, can it work as a silent film? You know, are they doing enough visual storytelling? And he definitely does. He does a strength.
And there's a few really good examples of people who do their own version of that. You know, Raimi does a really good job at that. George Miller, the Mad Max movies would fucking slap as silent films, you know. I don't entirely agree with the idea that Star Wars would work that way.
Yeah. I think it's a key factor.
Not that it wouldn't.
That the music is definitely that important, but I don't think it's the only thing that gives Star Wars the magic, you know.
No, like I mean, it depends a lot on exposition. It's like there is actually the most important exposition drop in the entire saga, like within the first 30 minutes of A New Hope, when Obi-Wan Kenobi explains to Luke Skywalker who his father was and what a lightsaber is, and so like I don't entirely agree with the idea that Star Wars could work that way. Maybe Empire Strikes Back could.
Certain scenes,
let's just say George Lucas is not one of the directors who could accomplish that. I don't think.
He also had John Williams at the helm, and like if you have that as your sound in the background, then like
and don't get me wrong, I think that Star Wars would be an incredible watch, no dialogue, just sound design and music, but it's because I've seen Star Wars that I feel that way. You know, like I wouldn't just want to
like are movies edited
I can actually
in that way, or
on the Blu-rays I have for Star Wars, I can watch it music only.
Really?
Yeah,
and like, but like, are the sound effect like the ships like?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. I would be interested. I hope they are.
That would be really cool if you could just cut out dialogue only somehow.
And it's just sound design and music. Yeah, I'm like, I know that there's a music only version of all the movies that I have, which I do intend on watching at some point. I just haven't gotten around to. But anywho. Yes, I agree 100%. This is one of those movies that would perfectly work in a silent format, like without like the music alone and some of the sound design would just fucking slap. Because I loved the sound design in this movie, and obviously I'm actually going to point to a scene where there is dialogue, so you know, take it take it as you will. But in the helicopter the first time, when they're communicating over the headsets in the helicopter, like there is no other way to hear it. And I love that you are actually hearing what they are hearing, and you can hear the dull thumping of the wing of the propeller, and you can like all that stuff. Like it's really, really satisfying. And I love the sound design in the ship. Like that's
the bird
gorgeous.
chirping. Oh man, it's kind of it's annoying, and I think that's the point. Like they bring it in at first to be like, well, we got to test the air to see if it's toxic. The bird will die, so we'll know if the air is safe or not. But then it's like you really got to bring it in every time. It doesn't really make sense. But for sound design, it just makes it so much more eerie, or so much more to have that just like chirp, just those chirps in the background, and then just the like thwump. I don't know, just the score was so. Oh, I don't know. It just works so well for the movie, and I thought just little. I don't know. The sounds were perfect, and I think that is what it won an Oscar for was sound design. It was nominated for a couple other things, but I think the
one
win
for
wasn't.
sound editing, was nominated for picture, nominated for direction, nominated for screenplay, nominated for cinematography, nominated for film editing, nominated for sound mixing, and nominated for production design. Which all of those seem pretty fucking deserving.
And yes, Kansas City Film Critics Circle Award. We gave it the best adapted screenplay. It won. It was nominated for the best film. Didn't quite win. And then a 2016 winner for outstanding science fiction, fantasy, or horror film, the Vincent Kohler Award. Let's go, Kansas City. I love every time I can mention that. It's been a while. I don't know. I don't really check it though that often as I used to. But I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I can definitely give you more reasons why I like this movie more than Dune 2, I think. Dune 2, a lot of the root reasons is it's just so well made, and it looks so good, and it sounds so good, and just it's cool.
No, the filmmaking in Dune 2 is
it's ungodly.
Utterly
astonishing. It's just oh my god. And but this it feels that somehow Arrival, a movie in which they're going from a tent to a ship to a tent to a ship, has more substance, or there's more emotion. I don't know. There's more humanness. There's more real tears. I don't know. Just tears that are like within the movie itself, and then like me thinking of like if we were to do this in real life, and how like I don't know how crazy. And I wish that it was kind of like this. If aliens were to come down, it would kind of be like a selection process. They'd weed out all the government people first, because they're like, "Yep, you'll shoot at us and you'll send your people. You won't get anywhere. Just wait until the right people show up." And I don't know.
And it's also really cool that they are such a peaceful species that they are literally there to motivate humanity to work together. Even if China and Russia had done stuff to try to kill them, there wouldn't be retaliation. I don't think they would have fought back. I don't think that's something that they had the capability to do. If they wanted to, it literally would have been just kamikazeing Earth, like go really high with our ships, plummet them into the ground. But like, I don't think that's what they're there to do. Like that's not what they want.
Plan times 12.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, but
so like that's
even whenever they like, what could we do? Like they know the future. The time that we tried to kill them, they sent they flexed on us. Whenever we sent whenever our military tried to kill them, they're like, "Fuck it, we don't care about this scientist and linguist. If we can attempt to maybe kill or do something, like what do they think that one C4 explosive was gonna do? In that ship, like if it did blow up, I don't know. Maybe it would kill them. Maybe the whole ship were to go down. Maybe I don't know. I guess something would happen. But stupid plan.
Idiot.
But like, I love how they're just like waiting till the last second, and then they, just push them out of the room. They know what's gonna happen. They're like, all right, well, funny, funny little toy you had there, little C4 explosive planted under the table, acting like,
all right, guys, come on now.
And, I guess I'm operating under the assumption that like they know the future, and I know that they know, but these military men don't. So It is. I don't know. I think that is kind of like the point of her free will question and like the end of the movie. It's like once you have this gift or once you think of time in this way, life is just different and
Yeah,
morals
like,
and
do you have the motivation
yeah.
to try to change things, or is there a certain serenity in knowing that this is what will happen, and just kind of accepting that?
Do morals completely translate? Like our morals come from our brains, which are very time is linear, and we will die one day, and that is it. And so everything we do has to happen linearly. But if there was some revelation that came out that was like, no, time isn't linear, and we were told that way somehow, and we all maybe didn't get this ability. I don't know, because if we all had this ability, obviously things change and like everyone is just very different. But if we were just told that time isn't linear and that it is circular, I don't know what the word would be, but like if it is repeating in some fashion, I feel like people would just our morals would change. Like even if we were just told that, not given the true ability of knowing our future. I think morals themselves are kind of, I don't know, they were made in a world that is linear, so it makes sense that they apply to linear things, but once you get into that other world, it's like everything just falls apart.
What even is your existence at
like,
that point? So, like, and I appreciate what they try to approach. Like, I'm just going off what I perceive Amy Adams' performance to be, because this is the most show don't tell thing in the movie, because they literally make it the twist. You know, like, they can't tell you what's going on. They can't tell you how she's feeling in certain moments. The acceptance and serenity and the idea that she has her daughter. Yes, one day she will lose her, but every single day, every single minute in the meantime, she's going to cherish the time she has with her. And I think that more than anything, removing yourself from the science fiction of it all and removing yourself from that, if you break it down to just a story about knowing death is inevitable, knowing that tragedy is something that will occur, you will incur loss in your life. People will die. Is there any, like, just remove yourself from having this ability even. Is there anything you can do to prevent that? You know, no. That is an inevitability. That is something that will happen. And to grapple with that idea via a science fiction film and put it in these terms is really, really compelling. And I appreciate that originally the gentleman who wrote the story, I believe his name was Jeff Xiang, if I recall correctly, off the top of my head. But the screenplay adaptation, Ted Xiang, my bad, by Eric Heiserer. I absolutely adored this screenplay as well. Just the way that Denis and this screenwriter worked in tandem to create this story was really, really strong.
I got one. I think my line, and I was between. I just put the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis just so I'd remember that if it came up in conversation. But the thing I put down is whenever she was talking to Forrest Whitaker and she was saying, let's say that I taught them in chess instead of English, every conversation would be a game, every idea expressed through opposition, victory, defeat. You see the problem? If all I ever gave you was a hammer, and then
everything would become a nail.
It's like, so it's all whatever our reality is all that we know. And I have a saying I say to myself is just, you don't know until you know. And it feels like that's just kind of what's happening here, but with her.
Well, and to go back to, them teaching her the way she's teaching them, is there something to the idea that they don't know everything and that they are experiencing things the same way Amy Adams is.
Oh.
So
Okay, yeah. So they experience things non-linearly all the time. So they don't have the brain of a linear person. So yeah, maybe this is like an actual exchange, like a it's
like
yeah. Like I don't
obviously
know what they're
it's
gaining other than them saying that we need you in 3,500 years. But maybe that's just what they say to gain something else. Yeah, I don't know. Like, is that actually true? That they do need them in 3,500 years? Are we just them in 3,500 years? You know, like, is this what
that
humanity
was the other thought
becomes?
I
You know,
had during it. I'm like I doubt it, but like and that's why I'm like there's such a mystery about it that I really really appreciate that's never really defined or nailed down, and I appreciate when sci-fi or mystical storytelling does that. Like not everything needs an explanation, because if they did take a whole fucking section of this movie to explain how they experience life, it would feel out of place.
yeah, no. Lightning. People didn't know how lightning worked. We thought Zeus was throwing bolts down from the sky, and the gods were angry and shit. That's way cooler than like some static electricity in clouds and like it just like discharging. That's boring that we know that now. So it's almost like, I mean, ignorance is bliss to a certain point, but yeah, it is nice to have those things left up in mystery, especially if it is an alien race and they're experiencing.
Well, because like you gotta ask yourself, like, you don't have to ask yourself, but like when you are talking about this topic, there's a really good chance they don't even, like, the people who wrote this fucking movie don't even know how they experience time. Like that's that, like, and they don't define it because they don't need to. Like it's not something the movie requires, and I think that's just a really strong movie. If you can get to the point where you do not need to define things like that, it's going to be stronger. And to have the faith in yourself to put that movie on is all the more impactful.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
I really really enjoyed it. I thought that Amy Adams is utterly incredible. I went with her on both fronts. I went with her performance and character.
Yeah.
Didn't seem fair to give it to anyone else.
I maybe thinking of putting Jeremy Renner just because of if it's my favorite Jeremy Renner performance that I can point to, but he did not do better than Amy Adams in this movie, so there's no way I can actually give him the nod. I guess we haven't even spoken really about him really at all. He does
pretty good.
He does his part. It's just not the crucial role of the movie. No,
and he does have a few really really strong moments that, as far as like what we know him as, is Clint Barton, and he's good as Clint Barton. He was never bad as Clint Barton. He was just he was never given any material to really fucking play with. It was pretty steady. It was just kind of flat. Then I've seen him in Mission Impossible, and I've seen him in a couple other things. So
right.
like, but he's been action man to me, like, and he doesn't get a chance to. I'm trying to remember the moment in this movie where he has a facial acting moment where I was kind of like, oh, okay, like, oh, damn, Jeremy, okay.
Was it them sitting outside on the truck?
No, it's a straight on shot. Like it is looking like he's basically looking at the camera. I feel like it's the first time after they've made contact for the first time and he's about to go throw up. And I think he's looking at Amy Adams and he's like waiting to make sure she's okay. And there's a really interesting moment there where like he feels the need to make sure she's okay before he can go vomit, which is also really cute.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he's just, I don't know, a pretty cute, like, their relationship, how it's like just opening up like over time, and then you learn that it's destined to happen, like it's kind of destined to happen. So like then that kind of changes the whole dynamic. But before you know that, and like just hearing, like he's not hitting on her, but like it really sounds like it. Like he was like, "Hey, I was thinking about you earlier," and he just stops for a second. You know, he like takes a pause and he's like, "Yeah, earlier, whenever you were talking about the link, blah blah blah," and it's like at first, you know, it's like, oh, you were thinking about me, or, you know, or whatever. And I think even Amy Adams was kind of like, oh, like, you know, she was like, she took it as that, and then he just went on his normal science rant or whatever. And
oh yeah, and another thing that's really elegant about this movie is that the movie it wins you over on that side of things. Emily asked me about halfway through the movie if I wanted them together. Like we kind of saw like kind of a writing on the wall. Like it feels like they're kind of building towards that. Can't really tell yet, you know. And it becomes more clear in the second half of the movie, obviously. But at that point, I was like, I don't particularly want them together. I don't particularly not want them together. I guess we'll see. And then like within the next 30 minutes, I was like, that they are meant to be. I love them, you know, like, and that's what's really cool is that like, I just love that this movie had that in it. And, it's, you know, I've always said that I'm of the mind that any movie can be improved from romance, and this it was just the cherry on top. And I also appreciate that it gives you the full scope of that romance. It lets you know that it shows you how they fall in love, and it tells you why it won't work. Yeah. And I think that's
we got the full story of their romance. That's man, what a weird way to live, or a weird that would change. It would change everything. And could you change everything? Could you? It does seem like it.
Well, and that's what's interesting too. Is Amy Adams' character willingly accepting that this is her fate to give future generations the chance to change theirs? You know, is she a hero in that regard? Is she trying to do something?
She's the giver of the language to everyone
else. I know what
So
my destiny is. Maybe I'm giving them the power to change theirs.
Yeah, because I mean, even the aliens, they call it a weapon. They're like, hey, we're offering you a weapon. And then that's whenever, you know, the military's like, oh, yo, what's going on here? You know, it's spicing up now, blah blah. But it's like, it really is like it is just language. But there was a line. I think it's a famous line. It was from some philosopher, I think, actually, that it's like that weapons are the first thing drawn on the battlefield, or something like that. Like words are the first thing drawn on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And this language, I mean, like, it's crazy that it's honestly like a double-edged sword. You kind of want a universal language, but then on the other hand, it's like, then all of these cool words that come from different parts of the world that don't exist in other languages are lost, and like all that culture that's there. It's like, having one universal language feels weird, but it would be really, really nice if we could just communicate with everyone on Earth and not have to worry about a language barrier. It's kind of crazy.
Well, and that's what's interesting is that, like, all the language does, understanding the language, once you officially understand it, it gives you a different perspective.
Yeah.
Once you have that perspective, do you need the language anymore?
Oh.
You know, can you, like, you know, I'm sure plenty of people are bilingual. You know, like they're learning this language. Once they figure it out, it's like, dope. If I ever need this, I can use it. But if not, you know, and it's cool to frame it as, you know, we were talking about if Amy Adams is kind of just in the river, just going with the flow, you know, like she can't do anything about it. That's that. I think there's a really cool idea that they call it a weapon because it is all powerful. You know,
if you use it for the wrong reasons, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like, you would have to use it for the wrong reasons, I guess. Or is that even available? I don't
think they mean it as she brings up at one point in the movie where she's like, "There's a chance that our word weapon." Isn't what they mean. Like, they could mean tool, and I think that's more what they mean.
Yeah, she did go back in there to talk to them after, and she was like, offer weapon? Like, what does that mean? Yeah. And they're like, and it meant more of like their language, and like that's
Mm-hmm.
what they were offering, and I guess because whenever she steals that dude's phone, calls the
General.
is it oh yeah just general in China, and says the words of his what dead wife already. I mean, that's just pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's badass. But like whenever she hangs up the phone, it's kind of like it's the opposite of a nuke going off. It's like it was the exact polar. If this one thing didn't happen, then who knows what would have happened afterwards? Like World War III, and who even, I don't know. But it's like an anti-weapon. At least maybe that's why they chose her. Or it seems you're right. It does seem from the first moment we see her, she's already dealing with the grief, and she's she could have just been a more sad person, on average. I don't know, but like
I mean, like it doesn't require you to
Yeah.
experience a loss like losing a child to experience depression. I don't want to frame it like that, but
we're in a movie, and like
but the fact that
characterization-wise-
they are doing this at all, the aliens, indicates that you do have the ability to change fate. Like you do have the ability to do something like that, because they wouldn't need to do this.
Yeah, why are they even coming to Earth in the first place? Yeah,
Oh, and unless it's like because they have to, and they're in, it's fate,
maybe-
and so like that's why.
Yeah, maybe that's what it comes to, is that she realizes that there isn't free will. I don't know. Maybe that is what the end of the movie's trying to say, and that it isn't that she's just going with the flow and accepting it, and whatever it is that actually
it's too serene
no.
for that. It's too serene for that.
Yeah.
I think it's too positive for her, for the more like.
And it's
I think
only
she would have a
positive
more-
because we want free will, though. Like like not having free will might not be a bad thing. It's just it sounds bad to us right now.
Right. Yeah.
But-
No. There's a really interesting idea that Quentin Tarantino has.
Probably.
Actually, I read it in a book. I read it in his cinema speculation book, where he says that like us getting our free will taken away is actually not the worst thing possible. What would be the worst thing is us losing our ability to create, or to I can't remember the other, but like just like okay. I don't get to create the thing. I get to create, though, and I don't agree with it. But it is an interesting idea, and there is like I think the end of this movie, like I don't think it's just because I'm a human and because I want free will, I perceive the end of this movie as happy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the movie is a happy
That's
ending.
true.
I don't think it's and I think that. So I do think it's possible that there is the ability to wield it, but it requires the collective. No singular person has the ability to make massive change in their own life.
I see. Yeah.
It is a weapon, a tool that is used
It's speaking
to benefit everybody.
instantly. It's like our sentences, like they're very linear as well, and it does take me time for me to make my point. But for these creatures, they're making hundreds of points instantly, and it's all taken in seemingly instantaneously as well. Like it's just an instant transfer of information and an instant transfer of an idea. And we're seeing it at the slowest like scales. But like maybe that's just like that's all they see, and like they're just like they could put out one puff and have like hundreds of years worth of Earth conversations. And like so their whole being is different, and like their whole it is crazy that a movie, like it is a movie, but like
well, and then it comes to the point where like how do you even pass this on? Like now you're writing this out, which is not
how do
which
humans
is not
do
the
it?
same. Yeah.
How
like,
do
it's-
humans? Well, that was a cool piece of trivia, is that they actually made a full, maybe not a full functioning language, but they whenever she was tapping on that iPad and kind of like here's this word, that word to make the thing, they made that like
like they were like, well, this is what this will mean. Yeah, like it's
so. I mean, maybe that's how we would do it, is like just using a screen. I don't know. It would have, yeah. It's
we don't emit gas
we just
like
can't
that,
do
you know,
that. And it's like connected to their brain too. The creatures, like it's just
they are humans. They were giving them the chance to evolve to this point. We require knowing this language and learning how to speak it in order to evolve into what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Like maybe our brains can only get so big thinking linearly, and then this gift alone is what, boom, can it just that is pretty cool. I mean, a lot of people wonder of like how humans got so smart out of nowhere. Like what's the change? What was given to us? And maybe, like dogs, I guess, don't think linear, or they do think linearly, but they don't really have the full concept of time. They just kind of
every day is a
experience.
new fucking day.
Yeah. And so like maybe, now I'm going off the left field, but maybe whenever aliens came back at one point and they gave us, linear thought for the first time, and then we evolved to where we are now, and then it takes a point to like this to give you the next layer of brain thoughts. You're not quite ready for it yet, but now you're ready. We'll give you a non-linear thought and see what you can do with that now, sort of thing. And so she is kind of functioning as that. She is like giving the gift to the rest of the world and kind of being them. So she is part of the collective.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I think that there is a chance that it's not so much like we also think extremely individually. Like there's like they put an emphasis. We are one of 12, like that. We are not. We don't speak just for ourselves. We are trying to help everybody. And like, we need you to help everybody. So there is a chance that when this evolves, it's not a hive mind, but the world is much more about collectivism as a whole versus the individualist society that we've kind of cultivated in Europe and America.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, language is just a weird thing. Even taking the alien thing out of it, if you were just to tell someone there's a group of people on this part of the on land that speak one way, and then this group of people speak another way, if you were to merge them together, they would have zero clue on how to communicate. That's just kind of a weird thought on Earth, and we have more than 2 languages. We have, I don't even know how many active languages there are in the world. It's probably in the thousands. I don't know. Or is that overshooting it?
No, that's not overshooting it. I don't think.
Yes. What a cool movie to rope in aliens, language, death, freaking free will, dealing with guilt and loss. Like
there's over 7,000 active languages.
Okay, so yeah, I was not undershooting or underselling it. That's good, but yeah, I mean, I don't want this to happen, but I do. Like it is like kind of it could either go really good or it could go really bad. I want.
Well, no, and there could be something here where technologically we're not far off from reaching this. Like Google Translate is obviously extremely. I had a conversation with somebody the other day at work where they came in looking for work. They didn't speak English, and we. Communicated the whole time doing this.
The new ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever does that like live. You can just like have it be a third party and just you can have a full conversation now, it is really like right now we do have to have kind of like a mediator to translate, but when that's removed and it is just human to human, how. I don't know how that's done, but that'd be a cool place to reach. And
that's why it's like there could be a certain evolutionary, like we won't experience an evolutionary difference, obviously, but like getting to this point evolutionarily where there is a universal language because we've evolved to the point where we can communicate through technology primarily, and then me and you have gone on this for a while now with like Tron Legacy. I think a few weeks back we talked about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I like talking about these things. I go down the rabbit holes quite often.
No, I fucking loved this movie, man. I did. I thought it was fucking awesome. I thought it was such a good addition to this already pretty fun, eclectic mix of movies.
I put it up. I'm starting, and this isn't my full favorites movie list on Letterboxd, but I did slot it in on my favorites movies, and it already broke top 20. I think there's definitely still some I need to slot in here that are just not on here that I know were my favorites, that would be above it. So, but this is like just a start of the list. It has 160 on it, I believe. So, out of 160, it's top 20, and right at 20. So, that's kind of where I had it. I do have it above like Get Out and Guardians of the Galaxy and above Tenet. I do think that like it's kind of more packed together nicely than Tenet. It's very comparable, I feel like.
There's
time
there's a certain
weird crap going on, but I feel like it's packed.
Tenet's
better.
more fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like Tenet's a more fun movie, but I think that this is. I don't need the mechanics of Tenet to be explained at all. I get what's going on. This is somehow one of the most concisely and easily understandable time stories I've ever watched when it's the least explained, which I think is interesting.
Kind of like The Cure, almost, of like having something so mysterious but so central to the movie. And I don't know, it's just written very well. And yeah, I mean, an all-timer for me. As far as my sci-fi movies go, it's up there.
I mean, it genuinely might be my favorite sci-fi movie I've ever watched. You know, and that's if I'm not counting Star Wars as sci-fi. I count it more
Matrix?
like science fantasy, but it makes me more emotional than the Matrix.
I'd agree with that. I'd say kind of on the
we're
Matrix
looking
fun
again at we're looking at that again. It's more fun. It's more exciting than Arrival, but there's a certain, and it will be interesting. I don't think this has, and I don't think this is important. I don't think this has rewatchability. I will rewatch it.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it's like, well, one and done. I'm never going to watch this again. No, I probably will watch it again.
It's meta. It works to prove the point of the movie. The first watch before you're given the gift, it's awesome, and you're in the now. But then once you know, and you do have that know,
it is all.
Because on my second watch, I was kind of like, man, I already know what's gonna happen. Is the movie that much worse? I mean, I still cried, so like, I guess I did still.
No, and that's the thing, is that there's still a human heart to it, and that's why like it does have a degree of rewatchability. That's why it's revisitable at all. It's just one of those ones where like The Matrix has a different kind of rewatchability. You know, like and that's just not a problem with twist movies. It's just a reality of twist movies. Like it's like, you will not get as enjoyable a watch out of it as you did the first time you watched it.
Nope.
That's just how twist movies work. Whereas like with Tenet's a little bit of a twist movie, but it's just also
like Shawshank Redemption. It's really awesome that first time. Whenever you don't know that Tunnel's there, he's digging out, and his whole escape plan.
After that, it's just a really good emotional human story, which is what you're looking at here, And I don't think Shawshank Redemption has a crazy amount of rewatch value either. So like,
nope,
good choice there.
It's right up on my list. It's right there on my favorites. It's nice to have this right here now. Letterboxd is definitely going to be on my. I don't know. I'm using it a whole lot more, obviously, now that that I got all these features. So, but yeah,
I mean, I dug it. I dug it a great deal, and it will be a nice revisit eventually. Usually, movies like this are too complicated to want to show other people. But I will confidently recommend this to anybody.
My whole family, I told my brother, if I can recommend a movie to my brother, it's pretty well
universally appealing.
Accepted. And I feel this is one I can recommend to anybody.
Yeah, I'll probably recommend it to my little brother as well. But yeah, no, it's a good fucking movie, man. It's a really good movie, and I've been told that for a really long time. It's been at the top of my list for a really long time. Like, gotta get around to Arrival. Gotta get around to Arrival. And I'm glad that I finally did. So thank you to you for forcing me into that by making it a cinema surprise.
It's the exact reason I put it up here. Is when I finally got to it, I'm like, oh. Man, wow! I realize why all these people have been saying these things. So yeah, we got there. We have arrived. And I don't know. I guess it was going to be called A Story of Your Life or something like that. Was the original name?
That's
like
what
the screenplay.
That's the name of the story.
The story,
that it's based off of. Yeah.
But yeah, Arrival, a lot more punctual, a lot cleaner. I think it works. But
and there's a few there's just a few of those. Whenever. Like the moment of her fate arrives at the end of the movie, and they hug and they embrace, and then it flashes to Arrival. Like it's like we're here, like we've made it, and it's just like it just makes sense. So like I loved it a great deal. But I think we've kind of talked about all we need to. So I'm gonna do the plugs, but after the plugs, I will announce what is coming next week on Cinema Surprise, and we will also do our album of the week. So. Let's do this shit. If you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you'll find over 100 hours of exclusive content, all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, and early access content. You will also get access to the Penny Bloom Dispatch. It's a nice little preview of what's to come on the regular show on Penny Bloom Podcast. If you go over there, you can listen there. But you have access to that on Patreon for free right now. It'll be like something like the first 12 or 15 editions of the Penny Bloom Dispatch will be available exclusively on Patreon. And at this point, I couldn't really tell you how many will be over there. Probably about 10, maybe, give or take. Yeah, so that's free on Patreon. You just have to go over there. You don't even have to pay the $1.50 a month to gain access to any other sorts of content. Free. The Penny Bloom Dispatch, that's more timely news, archaeology from Joe's side of things, entertainment stuff from my side of things. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, head to Twitter, follow at Penny Bloom Pod. That's where you can find everything for all shit going on. Fire and Bloom, or coming soon, The Cinementalists, and the season 2 of Cinema Surprise. Inevitably, you will be able to get updates on that on the Penny Bloom Pod Twitter. Head to Instagram and TikTok, follow at Penny Bloom Podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening, and download these episodes, especially if you're listening on Cinema Surprise. Give us a little boost. I would really, really appreciate it. I don't anticipate it starting off super hot. It's starting from the ground up, and I would love to see some numbers there. But let's go ahead and rate this thing. I'm confident in a 10, enjoyment wise.
Okay, let's go. I was wondering. I don't know if we were gonna be there, and like Cure. I was like, fresh off a 10. Babylon was a 9.5, and I'm like, man, I feel like I just do really, really love this movie, and I didn't want to.
No, I knew it as soon as I watched it last night.
Sick.
As soon as I finished it, I was like, yep.
Okay.
I know exactly how I feel about it. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's one of my favorite sci-fi, if not my favorite science fiction movie of all time. Like, that's how impactful it was on that first viewing.
Okay. Awesome. Because I was like, I didn't think. Well, I couldn't Sumide for Tron, so that was already there. But I was like, so I was comfortable. I was like already accepting like a 9 something, and but I'm glad. I'm glad that we can. There's no debate needed there.
No, yeah, it's a 10.
And then
it's a 10.
Okay. Then I guess critically,
it's strong. It's a good movie.
Knowing his visual prowess usually, and what he can do, especially with scale. Like, I expected some scale shots of the ship to just, I don't know, make it. They did well and stuff, but I don't know. Just what I know of what he can do. It would have been nice to see some more visual stuff, but the writing, what's really important, what I really like, and the story.
The storytelling was really,
was
really incredible. So, like, and the performances are really strong. Amy Adams and Forrest Whitaker are the easy highlights for me. I like Jeremy Renner. He's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, no, when I come to the critical side of things, I think that high 8s, low 9s.
9 was seeming maybe too high, even. Like, maybe 9 would be the ceiling. I could maybe give a 9 flat, but like 8.75 or 8.5. I guess Babylon was 8.5. Let's see.
I feel like we're dealing with opposite things there, where I feel like that movie's like all vibes, all flash, all that, and the story, I mean, like, I like the story. I think it's really, really strong, but I would give this the edge there. So I think I would put them on roughly the same level. I think I'd probably give this the edge, though. I think I would say this is a little better than Babylon.
Maybe a little 8.75.
I'm comfortable with
let's
that.
see. If we were to do that, it would be a 91.6 or 91.7, so a 92 percent. And so, I mean, that's pretty dang good. I mean, The Cure still at a 97. Casablanca at the top, 98. And then The Cure. And then this would be in third place now.
I think that's apt. That's how I would do it off the top of my head.
Yeah. I think I would agree. I think I do. The Cure and this are, I think the Cure is, or just Cure is the closest example of how, I don't know. I like it. The writing was so good and so mysterious and just so captivating. But more rewatchability with, Cure. Arrival, it's just, I'm glad I've seen it, and
I'm so glad I've watched it, man. And I will inevitably rewatch it. And it's one of those ones like where I don't like Cure. I wanted to spam. I watched it. I watched it 3 fucking times.
You got hypnotized for real. By the movie.
This is one of those ones where like I will inevitably rewatch it, but I almost don't want to rewatch it too soon, so that I can get the full experience that I want out of it. So like it's a different type of movie, but similar vein. I love it. I love it. All right, 91% for Arrival.
Yeah.
What do we want to do? Do we want to do album of the week? Is your album of the week sort of a tie-in? Do you feel like it could?
No, probably not really. Not really.
All right, then let's do the surprise. So next week, I'm returning to a 2020s film. That's kind of the back and forth I want to do. Okay. I did a 40s movie, I did a 20s movie. I did a 90s movie, I'm going to do a 20s movie again, and then I'm going to do an older one, and then I'm going to cap it off with the 20s. That's kind of the balance I want to go with. I want to show Joe as many 20s movies as I can, and myself as many 20s as I can. In this case, as I'm picking another one I have not seen. 2 weeks in a row. I went with Cure went with Cure 2 weeks ago. Last week, as it will be 2 weeks removed from the episode that we will. Sorry. Last week I went with Cure, one I hadn't seen. It gave me a lot more faith to go with movies I haven't seen. Kind of spread our wings and hope for the best. I like that. So next week we are going to be covering 2023's La Chimera, starring Josh O'Connor.
Yeah, okay, here it is.
It is an Italian film about archaeologists and the black market and how they are trying to, dig into a little something. I have a lot of faith that this movie could be really, really strong.
Okay.
And I have not seen it. I've heard a lot of good things about it. Only recently got a theatrical release in America. Only a couple months back. It is available digitally, so it will not be difficult to find. You will be able to watch it.
Perfect. Josh O'Connor in archaeology. It's all I need.
That's
all I need to get
right
me
now.
in right now. So yeah, I'm
I mean,
in.
and I believe Isabella Rossellini is also in it. Who is
Flora? Who is? Where do I know her from?
I mean, she's kind of a legend, but you might know her most recently from being the daughter of Ingrid Bergman, who was the lead in Casablanca.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, well then,
she was also the third wife of Martin Scorsese, and longtime girlfriend of David Lynch. So Isabella Rossellini's been around the block, and she's also like I know I'm putting her relations as an important thing here, but she's been in a lot of great movies. Blue Velvet by David Lynch is one of my favorites of all time. She was just in Problemista. She's been in a lot of good stuff. So I'm very excited for La Chimera. I've heard a lot of great things, and that is what we've got coming next week. 2023's La Chimera, directed by Alice Rohrwacher.
wow,
Super excited for that. So yeah,
there we go.
Next week, La Chimera on Cinema Surprise. Fucking be there. I would appreciate greatly if you're listening on Penny Bloom Podcast, as these episodes are available there. Next week, go ahead and tune into Cinema Surprise. Check it out. Check it out over there. Same shit, same episode, but different theme song. Trying to build something over there, but we wanted to give it a soft launch where, it's available over there, but it's also available here. It's just, a little comfortability. But when season 2 inevitably rolls around, it will be exclusive to the Cinema Surprise page. So you might as well already get it going over there. Might as well subscribe to that. Might as well download those episodes because that's where future shit's going to be. So, yep. La Chimera next week, and at the end of that one, Joe will announce his penultimate choice. Super exciting. But let's do an album of the week. Let's start with yours. How you feeling?
Well, I'm going more modern here. I've already got a Cudi album, so I'm just kind of going down the line of my favorite artists. And this week, I'm going to go with 2013's Childish Gambino, Because the Internet. It is my favorite Gambino album. I don't really have maybe one that I just listen to more than all of them. I just listen to all of his music, really. I have just a playlist called Gambino, and it's just all of his albums kind of thrown in there. But this is the one that I have the most kind of hits out of, the most liked songs in one album. It definitely comes from here. I feel like everyone knows like 3005 and Sweatpants. But I really like Oakland, or it's Telegraph Avenue, is one of my favorites. And Pink Toes. I really love me some Pink Toes. That sounds really weird out of context.
Do ya?
Track 17, Pink Toes featuring, how do you?
Janae Aiko.
Thank you. Oh my God, the song goes hard. And is he lots of
Flight
Stockholm?
of the Navigator. Flight of the Navigator is my shit, buddy. I love that one.
Yeah, okay. I don't, it is hearted, but I guess off the name, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of them. I don't know. I don't know that one off name, which is surprising. But yeah, it's an album that I've been listening to for quite some time. It's not anything new, and this kind of the point of this is to expand my horizons, and listen to new music. But
sometimes you just got to fall back on the classics.
Yeah, this one had to get it out there because Cudi's album was one that I've listened to for quite some time, and Tron as well. So I know that one's been in there. So I'll my next one I'll make sure I'll expand the horizons for myself. But I guess
I didn't expand the horizons this time. I went with one of my favorites of all time as well.
Okay.
My album of the week is Heart of Stone by Cher. Love me some Cher, big Cher guy, huge fan of Cher. If I Could Turn Back Time is an absolute classic.
That's on this album?
Everybody, it's the first song, gets you fucking going, and then she's like, you know what, just like Jesse James, track 2, Crazy track 2, that's like, if I ever, like, I feel like if I rise in like a crime family, right?
Okay.
and my hubris gets the best of me, and I'm on the run, and it's going down. Firefights happening. I'm going down in a blaze of glory. I want the song just like Jesse James playing. That's how that song makes me feel. And then to follow it up with You Wouldn't Know Love. Like, the first 3 tracks are fucking crazy. You Wouldn't Know Love makes me feel like I could step into oncoming traffic and, like, shoulder check a car and it would stop. You know? Like, that's how...
What is in this album? What is she put
Crack.
in there? Yeah,
Crack
okay,
cocaine.
It's what it sounded like.
No, I mean, it's an all-timer. It's one of those ones that, like, you'll listen to those songs, like, specifically You Wouldn't Know Love, and you'll be like, oh, that's how that makes you feel, huh? But it does, you know, like, there's a few songs that make me feel like, you know, the culmination of a movie. I'm running through the airport to find the girl getting on the you can't go,
No,
you know?
no,
Yeah, that's the album's got all sorts of vibes. But the first 3 tracks are just like 3 of my favorite songs ever, and they come one after the other, so it just gets me fucking going.
Yeah,
I love
I know
that.
if I could
love
turn
that
back
album.
time, I do know that one, but I'll have to check out those other 2 for sure, if not the whole album. So I do.
Yeah, it's
Cher,
a strong one.
yeah.
It's a strong.
Dude.
I love me some Cher.
Yeah.
I'm a big Cher guy.
How could you not be? I don't know.
Yeah, she rocks. She rocks. But all right, cool. Because the Internet and Heart of Stone. Love those for the album of the week. Remember, come back to Cinema Surprise next week, where you will find us covering La Chimera. And on that episode, Joe will announce what the 5th movie of his will be. And I'm so very excited for that. But with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And if you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change things?